This is our second week here at Save Toys of Godzilla May 2019. Hi, I'm your host Travis, and my personal collection is all about the two V's, vintage and variation. And in this week's episode, we'll get to both for a Royal Rumble grudge match, whatever you want to call it, of my 1980s Dor Mei 14-inch and 1980s 13-inch Imperial Godzilla. Check us out at the review booth. Welcome to the review booth. In preparation for Godzilla May here at Save Toys, I picked these guys up off of eBay. Now, you're familiar with the one in the middle, my 6.5-inch Imperial Godzilla. He was featured in last week's episode of Save Toys, and also a couple episodes back where I custom painted him. If you haven't seen those episodes, check them out. Over here we have my 1980s 14-inch Dor Mei Godzilla, and we have my 13-inch Imperial Godzilla from the 1980s. Pick these guys up off of eBay. You can too. They're range anywhere from starting at about $30 and going on up, depending on the condition, the seller, the shipping that's going to be attached to them. They really vary in a lot of different prices. I found both of these guys to be really good condition and also fit my budget. Now let's start with the Dor Mei Godzilla. Let's see if I can get him in the frame decently. He has a really good paint job considering his age. The articulation was real tight. That's something to look for on eBay, is check out the joints. A lot of the sellers will say if you have any questions, please ask before purchasing. And I highly recommend messaging them. I keep getting caught in my tongue. Messaging them and asking them about the joint condition. You don't want to buy your Godzilla and the limbs just flop and you can't pose them at all. But as you can see, my joints are pretty tight. The tail is the loosest one here. But overall, that's pretty good because it's going to drag to the ground anyway, so it's really not something to worry about. Now, you've probably already noticed there are no Godzilla spikes on this guy. The story behind that is, according to one of my Godzilla experts, Dor Mei was a group out of Hong Kong, and to keep them from being busted for copyright laws for Godzilla, they took off the characteristic spikes. But he's so recognizable as Godzilla, it really doesn't matter. When you look at him, you know that's Godzilla coming your way. Now, there's several variations of him put out by Dor Mei. There's a greener looking one. They tend to be a little bit more expensive. I like those, but this is the color variation of the one I saw as a kid, and I wanted this guy. Now, over here, my Imperial Godzilla. This guy is more or less just a big version of the 6.5-inch. The only thing in the body that I really can see much of a difference is the tail. It's kind of thicker down here. There's a little piece of string there. And that looks a little bit odd compared to this guy right here. When you hold up the thinner tail there, it just looks a little weird, but that's kind of nitpicky. You're not going to be paying attention to the tail that much anyway. Some of the plastic shavings around here around his mouth might need to be trimmed back. Let's see if I can get that in the frame. Might need to be trimmed back a little bit when you purchase one. Mine was decent, but I've noticed that to be a problem for some of the Imperial Godzillas. We got the silver in the middle, just like in the 6.5-inch. Joints are tight, like him as well as the Dor Mei. Please message the seller about the tightness of the joints. You don't want a floppy Godzilla that you just absolutely can't pose. Now, he doesn't have any neck articulation like the Dor Mei does, but he does have those iconic Godzilla spikes. Sorry about the vibrating of the phone here, the moving of the phone. It's just hard to get him into the shot range there. But he's more of what you think of when you think of Godzilla, especially from the 80s. Both have the same number of fingers. Both have great paint jobs, and that's something that I want to point out too. Let's fix him. The paints can be a little bit sloppy on these, but these are vintage figures. You kind of want that. Now, when I go to buy figures now, I want the paint jobs to be super great, especially on like my Marvel Legends action figures and more expensive action figures that I'll buy. But the slight overspray, let's see if I can find a good example of it. You know, the black coming up here on the rows of fins back here. It's probably not the best, but a little bit of black here. The fingernails, some of that is with age. His are really oversprayed. You got the red going all the way up past his nails. But it adds to the vintage look of these figures and the vintage feel. So that doesn't bother me at all. Again, my main concern with these is how well have the joints been treated over the years. So let's head back over to the Nerd Cave, where I'm going to give the winner of this versus between these two Godzillas. Meet me there. It's such a tough decision for me. Let's start with the Dor Mei. He's bigger by at least 1 inch over the Imperial. He's bulkier and just all around meaner looking. Versus the Imperial, who's more Godzilla accurate and is an upscale version of the 6.5 inch Imperial, which I first was introduced to Godzilla by. Check out last week's episode for that story. I think between the two, I'm just going to have to go with the Imperial Godzilla for the reasons just stated. Let me know in the comments below which one you would have picked, which one you like better. Like and subscribe to us here at the Save Toys YouTube channel, and let us know what you think about what we're doing. Also, check us out at Save Toys Premium. If anyone would like to donate an action figure to be reviewed on the channel, our address is Save Toys, P.O. Box 211, Blackshear, Georgia 31516. And until next time, if you like it, collect it. This week's episode of Save Toys is... Who writes this stuff? Oh, I do.